Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Monday.
Good morning.
Hey,
New week.
Morning. Yes, new week. Kind of cloudy today.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain a little bit, and at least in the Baltimore, Maryland area.
Yeah.
Hopefully, wherever you are, it's beautiful and sunny, or whatever weather you're looking for. So, good morning, everyone. As he said, that's Bob. I'm Tom, and this is today's Antidote, where we try to our daily broadcast, where we try to provide one thing that might help you along your own unique pathway to success. As always, we'll have a topic and a discussion. And we hope that you will add to that discussion with your comments, thoughts, and ideas, because we know that it enhances what we have to offer. And at the end, Bob and I will each share our one thing about the day's topic, and we hope that you will do the same. So please feel free to put it in the comments, whether you are watching it live or you're watching it later in the day. Just please add your comments, because people do go back in and add and comment. And it may be just that one thing someone is looking for today. That thing they needed, that reminder to help them to figure out how to continue to move forward. And so with that, our conversation this week, it's interesting. I was looking at this, and last week it was about decisions. And it's interesting what happens sometimes even once you make a decision and you know exactly what you want to do next, there are distractions that can be in the way. And that's one way to look at what is potentially a distraction. So this week, we're going to talk about distractions. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what they are. But before we get to that, Bob, do you want to give some information about some upcoming events that we have that people may want to take advantage of?
Sure. It's April, and we've got a couple of really good networking events coming up. The first one is tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's right, Tuesday, April 13th, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You're going to see networking, if you've never been with us, in a different way altogether. We actually get people synced up, talking to people and having the kinds of discussions that lead to engagement, which is the name of the game. You don't have to prepare your elevator pitch. You don't have to think for 40 minutes about what you're going to tell us. It's all going to fall into place. That's on Facebook. You can find more details there. Every Wednesday, we have the Ring Renegades check-in and check-up, which is an opportunity for you to take stock of where you are with the week and then look at what you want to achieve before the end of the week. And then if you can't make tomorrow morning, but I know you can, or if you want a second stab at the apple that is the Renegade Roundup Networking, join us again Thursday, April 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, because we're going to do it in another way. And there'll be a whole group of some of the same people, some different people probably.
A whole new stab at an apple. Huh. I never really heard that phrase. And, here's the funny thing I was thinking about throughout that podcast.
What's that?
You're going to appreciate this because it's something we talk about all the time. One of the things Bob and I do for each other is that whenever we have a presentation to make, we usually will give it to the other person. And the other person is there to comment and help us really be sure we're clear on what is the intent. What are we hoping that the listener is going to get out of this presentation or the attendee? And, what's the call to action? And just making sure that along the way we're taking the steps. If that's something that you'd be interested in, we'd be happy to talk to you about what that looks like. One of the things we always tell each other is, one, don't read a slide. And two, if it's on the slide, you don't necessarily have to read it for them. That was the one thing running through my mind is the slide is there and you're kind of reading down through each one.
Well, the reason I was reading through it is I know I consume some online content that's visual, but I don't pay attention to it because I might be checking my email. I might be making coffee. I'm doing a lot of things when I'm watching a podcast such as ours. So for those people, or if you're driving, and we go, hey, here's the stuff, you can't see it. I know we have people in those categories, so that's why I read it. But yes, it's good advice. I'm not arguing the advice, but it was a calculation on my part.
Very good. Well, I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought it was an interesting. It might have been just a distraction to avoid the opportunity to move into our discussion about distractions. So let's not prolong that anymore. So what do you want to start off, Bob, and give us a little thought about what you think distractions are?
Sure, I'll give you the easiest definition. Anything that gets in the way of, after you make a decision, what you're trying to execute that you could control. Key point, you could control. So if I've made a decision that I'm going to change bank accounts, okay, just change bank accounts. The bank I have isn't really great. I'm going to try a new bank. I make that decision. A distraction would be asking 60 people which bank they use because I'm just delaying it. Or going to one bank and saying, tell me about your terms, and they tell me, and then to another bank and go to the terms, and go to 16 banks trying to figure out if I can shave or gain 0.1% more interest on an account that's not going to have that money in it anyway. Those are the types of things that I think we do, and it's self-sabotage. And I think it's also self-doubt playing a role for us that we don't feel comfortable after we make a decision. It's almost like we're waiting for the boos to come from people like, no, you made the wrong decision. So rather than waiting for other people to say it, we find a way to start booing at ourselves.
I was not. You said booze. You said B-O.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean booze. Like I meant people booing at us, not booze the drink. That could be a distraction, though.
We're waiting for the drink to arrive. So I appreciate that you clarified that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it in another route because I was thinking about this. That distractions can also be beneficial. One of the things I've found is that when I distract my mind from something I'm intently focused on, I sometimes find new clarity. Or, a distraction is sometimes for me going out and exercising or doing a lacrosse game because it gets me away from what I am so focused on. And that distraction allows my mind to think differently because I'm thinking about other things. And while I'm thinking about other things, it opens the rest of my mind. I don't know how our minds work. It opens a part of my mind to think about the challenge, problem, next step that I was struggling with in a different light. I always say, and I've said it a million times on the show, well, not a million, but a lot of times on the show, that I do some of my best thinking when I'm driving. And so while I'm not necessarily focused on a goal, an intention, something that I was trying to accomplish, how to complete a decision I just made, that distraction of not sitting at my desk solely focused on, okay, how am I going to solve this challenge? How am I going to take this next step? That distraction from what I was trying to do allows me to then have more clarity. So I think it's it was just something that I thought about this morning. It's like, distractions can be considered. Some would judge them as negative. They get in the way. They're things that slow us down. And there's that other side to it that sometimes that slowing down, having something in our way, changes how we look at it. We have a new perspective on it. And so I think sometimes there's value in distracting yourself, if you call that a distraction, or having something that you can control and you decide to do that can help you figure out something that you are stuck with.
It sounds to me like you're suggesting that the distraction is a lot like a roadblock where you come up to it and you're stuck waiting for it to go by and you see the most beautiful house or someone's garden that you couldn't see otherwise. I was stuck yesterday. My car broke down and we were in a place I'd driven by probably 500 times. And I learned a whole new set of things because I had to stop and look. And it's like, I never noticed these trees and wow, behind these houses are really nice flowers. And boy, there's a lot of traffic on this road. And it was because I was stuck for 45 minutes with nothing else to do. I couldn't advance to where I wanted to go because my car broke down. So it was an opportunity in that case to see the world a little differently. I hadn't thought about distractions that way, but I do worry that saying that, someone could say, oh, good, it's really a good idea that I'm distracting myself today. It's really a good idea that I'm stopping. And so do you have a way to evaluate when the distraction opens your mind versus when the distraction is you just second guessing or delaying your actions?
I think it's hard, really hard, because, how do you know when the distraction is enough or not enough? If I think about it for 10 minutes longer, might I come up with a different solution? Or if I explore, you're going to love this. If I explore bots and how they might add benefit to my business for 10 more minutes, yeah, it might seem a waste of time, or it could be the 10 minutes I needed to find the solution of how this is going to be more effective and how I could truly use it in a way that is going to add more. So I don't know that there is a solution. I guess the way I would look at it is it's a finite amount of time, whatever that is. You might come back to it. I have felt that getting out and doing some exercise, while some might consider that a distraction, especially if I do it at 4:30 or if I did it at 11 o'clock in the morning, because it kind of is an interruption. And I often find that it gets me away and it clears my head. And it allows me to then come back more focused or differently focused. Something may pop up while I am doing something completely different than work that says, hey, this is the next step. This is the next thing you might need to do. And so, I don't know that I have an answer for people. I think it's just a matter of maybe being clear on how long you're going to, or what the boundaries are with that distraction.
I don't know that I would call exercise in that case a distraction. I've gone for a run when I've had to write things and the ideas just aren't coming to me. That's a conscious decision to do something physical so that then my mind can start to process it without the keyboard in front of me and looking at a blank page. What you're describing with the exercise, I don't think that's a distraction in my book. A distraction in my book would be, I've got a stack of 1,000 business cards on my desk right now, and I'm going to alphabetize them.
Okay.
Because that's a good way to take 2 hours today, so I don't need to make sales calls, so I don't need to do all the things that could propel my business. And at the end of the 2 hours of alphabetizing them, I'm no better off than I am now because I'm never going to use those business cards for a thing. But I distracted myself for 2 hours because I avoided making sales calls.
Unless you identified someone that you're like, hey, you know what? I need to follow up with that person. I hadn't thought about that person in forever. And that might be somebody I need to do some follow up with. I think that's like I was thinking about while you were saying that, and I was saying, maybe those aren't distractions. I think some might judge, for example, April is a busy month for me for lacrosse. Mm-hmm. And so some would say lacrosse is a distraction from my business because some days I'll have to leave here at noon. Some days I'll leave at 3:30. And they'll be like, well, if you put in a full 5 days, you would be in a different, if you worked until whenever, that's just a distraction from where you're trying to get to.
I've never said that out loud, Tom. No, I'm kidding.
Just probably think it all the time. Like, oh my God, he's gone again.
No, I don't.
Why can't I get in touch with him? Well, I just think that's
never.
An interesting perspective. And I guess it goes back to me on, I think one of the things that's becoming clearer and clearer for me is that when we judge things that either we do or others do, that sometimes that's when we get into problems, is that it's the judgment of it. Because what I might see as valuable, others may see as a distraction and be like, wow, you're wasting time doing this. You could be doing so many other things. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting perspective on what truly is a distraction.
Well,
and
when you
the eye of the beholder.
Right. When you talk about work, we have the possibility that someone could be in a full-time job and they're trying to build something outside of it. I've been in that situation where I had a full-time job and was trying to build a business. It can be a distraction. Nothing seemed to make me more motivated than the fact that I didn't have a steady paycheck. That'll drive some growth and that'll drive some discomfort. Sure. And as I look back, I think at times a full-time job was a distraction. I also think at times networking groups can be a distraction if they're not helping you. If you're not building relationships that lead to business, those could be distractions. I think that doing the time it takes you each year to do your taxes, I think, is a distraction potentially. Right?
Love to bring that up. It's one of Bob's favorite. When
you brought up bots, you started it.
I don't think bots is a bad thing. I think it is one of those things that you need to explore, and you need to better understand. At some point, you have to decide, yes, this is a path that I'm going to dive into and become part of. And I think that becomes a challenge. Is that it's sometimes those things we look at as distractions. We think they're taking us off track, when maybe if we look at it as, what have we gained from this action, from this, we made a decision that I'm going to head down this path and check out what this looks like. And then I guess you get to determine, wow, that was really a distraction. I shouldn't have done that. Which to me is just a judgment, rather than saying, right, again, what did I learn from this? What did I gain? And maybe it might be that, you know what, I shouldn't chase every shiny object because it might help. I need to do a better, more understanding before I, dive all in and try to figure it out. And so I think that's it's kind of like we talked about it before about making decisions, but was Clubhouse a distraction? Is it a distraction? And I guess the question is, just like a networking group or other, opportunities within your business or hobbies that you pick up that you might like, and you get to then have to figure out, what is my goal from this? How am I trying to leverage this experience, or am I just chasing to chase and see what happens and not really investing myself in whatever it is? So maybe it does become a distraction.
Let me go with some comments, Tom, because they're not a distraction. They're a valuable part of the discussion. First of all, we have, and I'm betting that's Tim, though I don't know for certain, stab apples much, Bob. Yeah, I do stab apples almost every morning to go with my oatmeal.
I'd never heard that quote.
I just made it up.
Oh, okay.
Wally says, good morning, guys. Love what you're doing for the renegades in today's world. Chet Holmes talks about having your PhD, pig-headed discipline, in time blocking and ownership. It's a mindset, as Bob just mentioned, more than anything, in my opinion. Really love your show. Thank you, Wally. That's great. It's a great motivator on Monday. I think this might be Tim. It's like looking at a faint star. If you look slightly away from it, you see it better. Sometimes it's better to take your eye off the ball in order to get where you want to go. My granddad called it prime and pump. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Linda says, running helps to clear your mind and open clarity and creativity. I'm with Linda on that. And then we also have, I'm not sure who this is. It could be Tim, possibly. Did the distraction provide a learning experience? If so, it wasn't wasted, even if it didn't provide a business opportunity. I think that's what you were saying. And I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that becomes part of what makes us real. When we don't think about what did we learn, if we never stop to go back and say, hey, what did I take from that? And how will I use that? And I think we take things from it even if we don't think about it. But I don't think we understand that it came from there. We just have it as a part of who we are. And that's why I really believe that everything we do impacts what's real for us. Some in a small way and some in an enormous way. Some people would have said in last March that doing this show every day is a distraction.
One person said that to me very directly.
And so I think that is their opinion. There's no doubt. And it could be, if we just got on here and we weren't thinking about what we're doing and just talked and didn't really what's the goal? What are we trying to take away? What are we trying to learn from it? And just in the doing of it, you honestly learn things. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of, is what you're gaining helping you move towards where you want to go, or is it slowing you down? And even if it's slowing you down, you are still going to gain more knowledge, experience, and perspective that will help you the next time something like this comes along.
Nice. So, Tom, it's that time. What's your one thing?
You know what? I'm going to go with distractions are all an opportunity to learn, to gain some new knowledge, have a new experience, or see a different perspective. And I think as long as we take the time to understand what it is we gain from it, it might not truly be a distraction. It might be just another action that is a chance for us to learn and understand and grow and have what is real for us change.
I can hear someone watching this program, Tom, and going, really? A couple of weeks ago, you said obstacles are a chance to grow and learn and advance. Distractions are a reason to grow and advance. You guys really need to realize that not everything's an opportunity to grow and advance. But the fact of the matter is, they all are.
I am more convinced of that every day. The more we talk through all these different things, the more it can be about, are you judging what you're doing? Or are you trying to evaluate? Okay, what did I learn? Rather than say this was good, bad, right, wrong, just okay, this is what I've done, and now what am I going to take from it to help me the next time I take some sort of action or step.
I like judging versus evaluating. We might have to do a week on that one.
I like that. Because often it's so easy to judge. And we do it all the time. And everybody does it for us as well.
Yes. All right, Tom. Well,
what's yours? What's your one thing?
I think mine is a little different. I see, what causes a distraction is something that's really important to me, because I know there are certain things that I can do that are a great distraction that look like they're work when in fact they're not, like research. I can over-research something. I've spent way too many hours thinking about bots, evaluating bots, writing about bots in my head. I've done way more research than necessary, and that's my go-to. If I access more information, then the answer will become clear. And at some point, I think you have to just say, okay, stop researching and go forward. So to me, I think all of us have one or more distractions that are our go-tos. In fact, that's going to be a poll question I put in today. What are your go-to distractions? And see, because I think once you recognize what those are, I have one about research. I was doing something Saturday for someone and looking at research. And I was like, I'm only going to spend a half hour on this. I'm literally going to stop at a half hour because that's all required. I could have done it for 10 hours. But it's I'm just not.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right, folks, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Please feel free. If you have a thought about what are distractions, we'd love to hear it. Please feel free to share it in the comments. Thanks to everyone who did comment. We appreciate your feedback and insight because it will impact what is real for each of us and others. So if you're enjoying this type of conversation, you are already a member of our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, please join us. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades. It is a private group, but you are able to join just by asking and telling us why you're a renegade. And then you can become a part of our growing community of people who are trying to figure out how to move forward along their own next step and take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to, we talked about it earlier, how to do a presentation that is going to have the impact that you want. Or how are you going to determine, is this a distraction or what am I learning from this experience? So please feel free to join us inside of that group. And if not, we will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. And here is some further information about the Ring of Renegades Facebook group.
Carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and accomplish those next steps.